Hey everyone, welcome back to DC-Cember, as we conclude our list on the top 10 villains of Superman the Animated Series, as we'll start with our number 2, Lex Luthor.
And now, here's to the future, Lex Luthor.
He was my number 1. We all shuffled these three.
Yeah, exactly.
Were our top 3, but we all had them different. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I would say that arguably our number 1 spot, which I won't say just yet, definitely has made a few more impactful moments, but Luthor definitely has a high spot here because, you know, he's the arch nemesis.
He's the Joker to Superman's animated series.
Well, I think my favorite thing about Lex is just that he walks the walk and talks the talk, but when he's in his more vulnerable moments, like, he really is like the weakest dude. Especially that comes to the forefront in Justice League when he gets his kryptonite cancer and he realizes like he does not have any power except his money. And just all of that. Like, if I'm considering Lex throughout the whole DCAU, he might have been at the top of my list, just because I really enjoy seeing the pits and valleys of his character arc. Versus,
I love the return. That's one of my favorite episodes of the entire DCAU, and how he is also seen at his weakest there, I think, and his strongest, arguably the weakest, because he's got to rely on the entire Justice League to protect him from Amazo, and then the strongest when he's able to give that speech and change the android's mind.
And then goes just one sentence too far with those.
Yes, because he can't help but gloat.
He gets cocky,
Should have quit while you were ahead.
I mean, considering Brainiac and our number 1 character that I won't say yet is like, they're much more of a global galaxy-reaching threat or whatever.
Who could it be?
But Luthor is, even though he's on a smaller scale, if he's got his suit, or he's got his thugs, or he's got his, you know, trick up his sleeve, he's managed to mess with Superman.
Injustice gang.
Yes, where he's just to tick Superman off with his president plan. All that stuff is like, when he's in control, he's extremely formidable. But when he trips on a pebble and then he's, oh crap, I don't know what to do. Help. And that's always really interesting to me. So, especially, like, you know, suddenly Brainiac tentacles burst out of his body and he just has no idea what to do, but he finds a way to turn himself into a god for 5 minutes. So
yeah, because for Superman, he just relied on with his money, negotiation skills, and sometimes that would even fail. Though I would say in Justice League, he definitely grew as a character in some ways, because once he lost like pretty much his fortune, he had to rely more on his scientific prowess.
I'd say Lex is arguably like one of the more extreme character arcs throughout the entire DCAU, and because of Justice League. And Clancy Brown's performance is just classic, to the point where they keep bringing him back for stuff like he does Lex in the Lego DC Supervillains game.
Yeah, same with Public Enemies, even that one Brave and the Bold episode where it was like
that's right, he played Rotol, the Luthor from Planet X or whatever.
And not to mention, he's the crustacean version of Lex Luthor in SpongeBob also.
That's right. Lex Luthor's, maybe his most memorable appearances are, besides the Cadmus arc, of course, is probably the world's finest episode. It's a classic.
He's the good foil for the Joker on like the opposite side of the coin.
And it's fun to see their relationship again in the Injustice for All episode, the nod at continuity.
And even with Return, like you said, that was interesting how like Lex was basically running for his life, not even trying to pick a fight with the android, and eventually being the one to like talk him down and just like, you know, killing me is not going to solve anything. Just like, go serve your own purpose.
And you can't have that episode without Tabula Rasa.
Yeah, that one, you really felt like Lex was like fighting for his life. So like, I guess you could kind of feel bad for him in that moment, given with the cancer he was dealing with, on top of being hunted by the League. So
the vulnerable moments we see Lex in half the time aren't true vulnerable moments. They are him tricking whoever into thinking he's in like when he's basically like pretending to be a good person for a whole season of JLU just so he can turn around and be like, actually, I was doing this so I could make an Amazo body to put my brain in. But in the meantime, we also have those moments, where like his whole suit is torn to shreds and he's just on Mercy Graves' office floor going, oh my, which used to be his office floor, which is even more demeaning for him, just being like, okay, I actually need help. And as soon as he's back to where he has the upper hand, he takes it and okay, now I can manipulate this person and this person. Like he doesn't waste a second. He always goes back to it because he's one of the smartest guys on the planet.
Yeah, those moments like where you feel bad for him, they definitely go away in a second.
He has a literal big gun to shoot a Mazo, even though it doesn't work. But when he like gets swapped into the Flash's body, it takes him no time to go, okay, I know how super speed works and I'm going to use it in the most nefarious ways possible. So.
And in an episode, he's apparently has developed countermeasures to fight against any one of his secret society if they were to fight him.
Batman move.
Yeah, really. Specifically with the Superman cartoon, he's just a good menace for Superman because he's not one of the big punchy guys, but he can take him psychologically, mentally. He is smarter than Superman, but he's also like Superman can't touch him because to the city he's this like really benevolent guy that's built half the city and cool and all this stuff, but
he never gets thrown to jail until Justice League.
Yeah.
And who knows what happens to him at the final episode of Jail.
Right.
Gets everything he ever wanted.
To quote John, like he's definitely represents the worst mankind to offer, both in their Earth and the Lord's Earth, with orchestrating whatever events led that caused their Flash's death and inevitably his death at the hands of the Lord Superman.
But he died, saving us all.
Sorry it took me so long. I had to go get my power suit.
And now for our number one pick.
Your new lord and master, Darkseid.
Like Joker, who could have thought this would be the top of the list?
He is like kind of regarded as one of DC's like biggest bad guys. He is like their Thanos.
I do remember as a kid watching a lot of Pokemon. My brain was in this like everyone has the weakness, everyone has the power, everyone has like there had to be like this like perfect written down version of everything. And so whenever I'm like, okay, Batman's arch nemesis is Joker, Superman's arch nemesis is, I have like 3 or 4 options here. Like that can't be right, kind of a deal. So I always like Luthor and Darkseid and Brainiac are always in my brain of like who's actually like the main guy, and it's hard to say. That's why they're flipping around in our top 3 all the time. And while Darkseid is like a just kind of overarching DC bad guy, at least in the Superman cartoon, they make it easy enough to understand why he's the Superman villain. Like he kills Dan Turpin, he brainwashes Superman and makes him almost like destroy the world and all this stuff. Like he makes it personal with Superman much more than most, I think, Superman Darkseid dichotomies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because with Darkseid, he definitely did some like very memorable stuff. Like for one, I would say arguably doing a very on-screen kill for children's television.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they only got away with because they said, "Oh, he's not dead. We'll bring him back," and then they purposely never brought him back.
They didn't bring him back.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. And like you said, with brainwashing Superman, providing with the Intra-Gang with their tech, and nearly like absorbing all of the universe just to try to find the anti-life equation through Brainiac.
I think that's the only thing I really dislike about this interpretation of Darkseid is they gloss over the anti-life equation thing in like one sentence in Apocalypse Now, and then it comes back in the JLU finale, and that's like it. Like I don't think they ever.
It's
talk
a hard
about
concept to understand.
Well, yeah, and the fact that I don't think that there was really to me anyway, I didn't experience an answer to what that even is until Young Justice. So there was such a long time of me just going like, it's a thing, I guess. It's a big spooky cosmic thing that you don't know. But just the fact that like, if you asked me as a kid, what is Darkseid's motivation? Like, I have no idea. He's a big rocky faced bad guy.
His motivation is definitely a little bit subsided, but I think overall it's just to like, he sees the universe as like chaotic and he wants to bring order. So like, it's a typical dictator kind of thing. So
he's a fascist. He's a space fascist.
Pretty much. And yet he's feared in his world, yet also revered, since he has like many titles in his home world.
You know what always weirds me out is when I see Darkseid without his helmet, because I always consider that to be kind of part of his face, but that's not at all. He wears his blue helmet around his face, and he can take it off anytime.
It was a big rock.
JLU, he's got I feel
Kiss
like
costume.
Yeah, the Kiss armor is what it's referred to by the production, but it's influenced by Brainiac. Yeah.
I would say, like, I think the DCAU's Darkseid is one of the more interesting versions to me, because most of the time he feels overused and he's just kind of there to be like a big bad presence. Even in the Zack Snyder Justice League stuffs, I never thought I would say that I found Steppenwolf to be a compelling character until that version of the movie, where it was he had much more of a like reason to do what he's doing. He's trying to impress Darkseid, get back under his on his like.
He's middle management, and he's trying to brown nose.
But even Darkseid in that version of the DCEU or whatever is just big bad guy. There isn't really like he's trying to get the anti-life equation, yes, but at least in Superman the Animated Series, I feel like those personal connections to Superman, and they carry forward in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, where the only time that he feels like a pointless, just there to be a bad guy, is sort of in the finale, because they just needed like a giant bad guy to close out the show so they could have everyone fighting.
Right.
But it's the opposite. What do okay, we already did the big like government conspiracy smart story, and that wasn't actually the finale like we thought it was going to be. So the other thing I think we can do is just have everybody punching. So we got to bring back Darkseid, which is it's still
smash your action figures together.
Yeah, and it's still a really good episode, and I really love watching it over and over again. But that's the only time that he's ever felt to me just like he's just there. Every other time is like even when he's lording over Kanto or Kalibak or someone kind of in the shadows, still he's like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then he finally pops in and he does the worst imaginable things to Superman, and then Superman gets to backfire his Omega beams into his face and melt his face for it, and it's very good. It makes you like rooting, you're cheering in those moments or whatever. So
yeah, that's true. Like I say, for Darkseid, definitely challenges Superman emotionally and mentally in more ways than others. Like he's, I think, arguably one of the few that Superman is actually willing to kill.
That's why he's so reluctant to give him help when he comes to Justice League and Twilight.
Right. Oh yeah, it's hard to say with his return if he did it better than Joker's return, but it's still a surprise for a lot of viewers and fans.
It's the more shock value, cool. We know this is the finale, so might as well do a cool thing than Return of the Joker is. But
he did come back in the Earth 12 Batman Beyond comics.
Right.
He's in the Justice League Beyond story arc called Constriction, where he's blind, so he can't do his Omega beams anymore.
But with no fanfare, he's just there.
That's one great thing about with Superman. They definitely wanted to showcase a lot of Jack Kirby's fourth world characters, and I think this is a great way to have people pay attention to Jack Kirby's works in that world.
Yeah. Well, it's not without precedent. It's like, even though I said Darkseid is like a more newer villain in terms of Superman's history, he still first appeared in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, exactly. So that Jack Kirby was doing at the time, that introduced a lot of the fourth world characters. So fourth world and Superman have always been tied together.
I am many things, Kal-El, but here I am God.
Well, that concludes our Superman villains list. Thank you both for being a part of this.
Absolutely.
And thanks to all the viewers for tuning in, so be sure to check in next week for Batman Beyond villains on DC-Cember.